Hi everyone, Drini here, and welcome to my channel. So we're going to do a quick Bitcoin update today because unfortunately Bitcoin is now back to levels where if it coughs or sneezes by a little bit, our altcoins will pretty much get demolished. So let's dive into the charts to see what's going on and map out the scenarios moving forward. So when we last took a look at Bitcoin, we did specify that these are the levels to watch out for. If we're able to hold right here, then we could bounce off from here. But there are levels that we can potentially bounce back from if we fall from the 55 EMA. This particular level right here, which is around 42,185. This particular level right here, which is around 40,899. And of course, this level right here, which is the upper trend line currently. Right now, what's happening to Bitcoin is if you look at where we bounced off of this 42,185. And it's not magic or rocket science that we're able to figure it out. All you have to really do is look to the left. Price bounces off of key swing highs or swing lows in the past when dealing with sideways actions such as this. That is the reason we're able to identify this, because this is the swing high of this particular move right here. This is the swing low of this particular move right here. And we also found support here historically in the past. Even this one was a support. This one also was a key support level. But now that Bitcoin has pretty much fallen back to the triangle, there are a couple of things that we need to do here. And this is a tip in investing in technical analysis. Your structures continually change over time. You do not have to marry yourself to your initial analysis, such as this ascending triangle right here. Why is that? That is because it's already gone on a throwback. So you have now to take this price action into account to see what current structure is being built so that you can have a revised perspective as what you think will happen in the future. So now, taking the entire structure into account, what's happening with Bitcoin is we are currently in an ascending channel right here, where we are pretty much just bouncing back and forth these two trend lines at the moment. And you're probably wondering, an ascending channel, that must be pretty bullish, right? Because it's pretty much going up regardless of what we do. Not necessarily, because the channel itself is not an indicator of whether it is bullish or bearish. Instead, it is the breaks in the trend lines that really dictate where we can potentially go. For example, the bearish case right here is ascending channels are also typically continuation patterns. So given that we have been on a downtrend like this ascending channel is pretty much a consolidation phase or an accumulation phase that can also correspond to a continued downtrend in the future. However, it can also be a reversal structure where this is now your accumulation phase before the subsequent move to the upside. We are going to be bullish if we break through this particular upper trend line right here, backtest this as support before our continuation. Otherwise, there may be some short-term price action going down because right now we are below this median line right here. So a potential play, of course, is if we are not able to hold these levels of support, then expect that we may be testing this upper trend line, which is a good buying opportunity for all of us here before the subsequent move back up, hopefully now breaking this range finally. Looking at Bitcoin in a weekly time frame, now while we are still above our EMA structure, so we have formed support right here on the 55 EMA, so technically we are on an uptrend. Unfortunately, we are below the 20 EMA and the 21 EMA right here. The 20 EMA is 44,000, while the 20 MA is 43,751. So the fact that we are below here, that means our altcoin positions are very precarious at the moment. Because what's going to happen is because we are below, altcoins will really suffer should we have a short-term correction to the downside before a subsequent move up, where you are going to see a lot of altcoins really bleed bad until we get above the 20 EMA and the 21 EMA on a weekly time frame. So right now you're probably wondering, okay, what's potentially going to happen in the market? And more importantly, what do I think is going to happen? So for me, long term, we are still in a bullish uptrend. That has always been my stance ever since. But over the short term, we may experience some more downside volatility before we really establish a good base to bounce off of this particular structure right here. Why I'm short-term bearish at the moment is when we look at the S&P right here, we appear to have formed lower highs right here. So it appears that we are not yet done with the correction, and this may be an A, B, and this is a C wave that we will settle in a low before the bounce up somewhere in the future. The Nasdaq in particular is actually not looking good here because in the Nasdaq on the weekly, unfortunately, we really have fallen below the weekly once again. So while the S&P 500 is still holding support right here, the Nasdaq has already shown us that for tech and innovation stocks, the market sentiment at the moment is a little bit bearish. So if we continue, this is a potential A, B, and C wave correction before our move to the upside. So this is something to watch out for over the next couple of weeks. But long term though, it's really quite inevitable that Bitcoin will just continue to go up from here. When we dive into the on-chain data, we can actually see a number of indicators that really bode well for bullish continuation. When we look at Bitcoin on-chain data, and this is data provided by Plan C, when we look at supply active 1+ years ago, meaning what is the supply of Bitcoin that is currently being traded? How much of the Bitcoin is currently just being hodled without anything being done to it versus being traded actively in the market? Right now, at the moment, if you look at this purple line right here, we are currently at levels that are historic floors. The amount of Bitcoin being traded in the market is getting very, very low because people are just snapping Bitcoin up and are currently hodling it for dear life, waiting for price appreciation in the future. Another thing to note is when we look at certain institutions, you can actually see that there's this whale, for example, that has just been buying $1 million worth of Bitcoin every single day. That is ridiculous. So given the uncertainty, it's still the same game plan that we have. Long term, we're bullish on Bitcoin. So what's most likely going to happen is we may test over the short term some price lows. For example, we can potentially go here. Watch out for this because this could be a potential entry point not only for Bitcoin but the rest of our alts as well. But if we bounce off from here and we continue to go to give green candles at the upside over the weekly time frame and the next week onwards, then we are pretty much good to go and really DCAing into our alts and gaming cryptos because we know that we are back on an uptrend.